Well, let's start with the chapter number 6 of Pathfinder CSR Net, that is evolution, part 2, part 2 of that Pathfinder life science book. So first, in case of evolution, there is origin of life. Well, as it is written out here, that life originated on Earth at least 3.8 billion years ago, and Earth is only slightly more than 4.5 billion years old. And here it is written that life is generally characterized by three functions, that is compartmentalization, that is the inner components of the living thing is differentiated from is kept separated from the outside environment in case in a living thing. And then replication, that is the it has the ability to transmit, to replicate itself, to make copies of itself, and transfer information that is present in it to the next generation, so that similar thing can be made. And thirdly, the other characteristic is metabolism, that is the capability to capture energy and make materials from the surrounding. Now there are many ways scientists have tried to explain how the first life arose. So such hypothesis was given by AI Operin and Helden, JB Helden. So according to them, it was formed in a prebiotic soup, and they gave rise to quasarvates, some droplet type of primitive, which is the boundary between life and non-living things. And then this was to a certain extent confirmed by the experiment done by Miller and Uri Miller experiment in 1973, 1953. So Stanley Miller and Harold Uri, what they did was that they made up a primitive earth condition artificially. That is, they made a chamber where they kept reducing environment by and introduced gases like methane, then ammonia and hydrogen, and also added water to it, refluxed water into it, so that if anything was formed, they could be dissolved in water. And later on, it was found that numerous monomers of life, like different amino acids, and then glutamic acid, and different amino acids, and some other organic compounds like urea, lactic acid, glycolic acid, these type of things were formed out there, and this could be tested out. And so this proves that in primitive earth condition, production of such could be such things could be produced. And then the question is, how did complex biological molecules arise? So Sidney Fox and his co-workers, they actually showed that when amino acids were heated to high temperatures like 150 degrees Celsius to like 180 degrees Celsius, then they produce certain structures, polymeric structures called proteinoids. These proteinoids are actually branched polypeptide chains, and they showed some ability to form. Some of their properties actually matched with the biological proteins. For example, they had catalytic activity and sustainability to but they were actually sustainable to digestion by proteases like pepsin and trypsin. And then comes the RNA world hypothesis. The thing is that how could since RNA and since from DNA RNA is synthesized, and from RNA protein is synthesized, so and these actually are, and proteins are actually used to copy DNA. So then how could the first DNA or the genetic material could be replicated? So now here we come with the concept of ribosome, where it tells that since it has been found that certain RNA molecules show catalytic activity in some reactions, so and these are known as ribozymes. So maybe the first genetic material was RNA, and it catalyzed its own replication. So that is the thing. And next the question is that how did organized structures formed? which lead to life. So Operand proposed that war surveys were formed, which were the bridge between um, non-living molecules and the living systems. These were actually aggregates of colloidal particles, um, which were actually surrounded by a membrane. So this membrane maybe were phospholipids, and there was another thing that was microsphere. This, another idea that there are microspheres which are proteinoids in a solution, and that is it. And when RNA, the first RNA, self-replicating RNA, actually got caught into these bags of these bags of solutions of these coacervate or these microspheres, then this whole structure got to be called as protocells, when they contain the self-regulating RNA, which influence the characteristics. So that is it. And then in 6.2 it is written that evolution actually does not only involve the origin of life, but it also involves what happened after the origin of life. How did such diversity get formed, and how did um, how did such branching and such diverse types of and such perfect according to the environment again, how such quite fit and animals get formed. So that is the theories related to it, that how the mechanistic way, how the mechanism, how it they got formed. These are what um, evolution, the study of evolution involves. So first of all, the theory we're going to learn about is Lamarckism, which is not actually too much correct, but even then it is one of the first mechanistic ways that were proposed. So we'll be learning about it. So it actually involves mainly two principles. The first principle is that if organs or certain parts of our body are used too much, then actually they get efficient, that part or that organ actually gets enlarged and becomes much more efficient with time. And if we do not use something, then they get rudimentary and they get smaller and not that efficient, and that is degenerated and gets lost with time. And these characteristics, like the enlargement or the efficiency of a part, this is actually heritable. So these acquired characters are heritable to next generation. So if for example, if you are using one of your hand too much, then your hand gets much more efficient and it gets transferred to your next generations. So if they too you keep using their hands good, more and more, so after many generations their hands would get much more efficient, that sort of thing. So actually if we use Lamarckism, then one explanation for, although not correct, but one explanation for the long neck of giraffe can be this, that since during a drought, during bad times when the food were scarce, there had been a scarce of food, or the lower the leaves on the lower parts of the trees ended and the upper leaves are present. So the giraffe were trying to eat the leaves on the upper part of the trees. So they were actually trying to lengthen their head and eat, and so these actually kept improving their length of the neck, and it also got transferred to the next generation. So that is it. And then came Darwinism, and according to this, there actually the thing is that um, all the environment has certain the limitations of resources. So the number and the reproductive capability that organisms has, for example, animal can produce 1,000 eggs per 1,000 offsprings per year, okay. And the capacity of the of nature is for example 3,000. So each organism is producing, if one organism produces 100, then those 100 would again produce 100, so that will be producing around 10,000. But the environment's capacity to sustain is, for example, 1000. So what would they do? So only 1000 would live and the others would die. So only those would live which are much more better for the environment. And actually the each organisms of us, for example, all your brothers and sisters, you are all different, they have variations, but those variations which are more suitable for the environment, only they survive. Later on we got to know that this variation is actually done by mutations, although Darwin himself did not know about this. And there were certain components of Darwin's theory of evolution. First of all, that this life is not actually static, but it is evolving. um, so I mean the life forms actually changing, and this change is actually gradual, not a sudden one or discrete one. And this actually happens through natural selection, where only certain traits which help them in certain environment, actually which are most more fit, only they survive. And this vast diversity of organisms or species actually got formed, and but these all came from a common ancestor. These were the things. And evidences of this evolution can be seen in directly by evolutionary change. For example, small change, small this type of evolutionary change can directly be seen in nature. For example, a particular moth, sudden during the industrial evolution, this industrial revolution, then the factories produce smogs and different different polluted the environment, so different lichens on the trees died, and the color of the lichens were around gray. And but these pollutants actually formed suit on different trees, and since they killed the lichens, this gave the trees black in color. And though, so after this, the moths which were black in color, their number increased, because they could easily camouflage from their predators in those black trees. Whereas previously, gray, and the number of gray individuals of the moth actually decreased, because um, this, sorry. And then other evidences of evolution can be homology and development. During the embryogenesis, certain characteristics of the embryo actually are also seen in other animals. For example, in us there are fin-like structure, not fin, sorry, gill-like structures in our embryos, called gill slits, which are also present in fish. And different organisms, for example, our um, the limb, for example, the anatomy of different organisms, although they are different functionally, but they can be seen to have a basic structure, similar basic structure. For example, us and birds, we have, although they have wings and we have hands, but the basic structure of the bones are quite similar. And this is known as homology or analogous evolution. Sorry, not an sorry. This is called homologous evolution or divergence. And there is another type of thing, that is analogous structures, which for example, the wings of bat, the wings of bat or bird, and the insects, actually they have the same function because of the same niche they belong to, but their internal structures actually differ because they evolved from different in a different way from not so close ancestors. And the presence of vestigial organs also tell that we evolved and since we did not need these organs, so they are present because our ancestors had it. I mean, some common ancestors, some common organism, but these are actually, for example, appendix and all that. Then wisdom teeth, and then other evidences are fossil records and biogeography. That is, certain islands have certain species. Biogeography means that certain. I mean, fossil records shows that at different time points in fossils we can see that different types of organisms, very different from today, were present, and they actually changed from time to time. And in biogeography, you can see that certain geographical area um, has variety of or diversity of certain organisms, which indicates that they actually came from somewhere else and evolved according to that environment, according to the different niches found out there. And in case of natural selection, to act on a trait, that trait must be heritable and must have some variation in the population, and that trait must actually help in variation in that trait actually must help in the change the reproductive success. Thus, those with more reproductive success would be called more fit, and there should be um, and the correlation between the correlation between the trait and the reproductive success must be non-zero, not zero. And actually the moth I talked about previously is Biston betularia, and two forms of it could be seen, that is light and dark. The light one is termed typica and the dark one is termed carbonaria. So during the 1800s, dark forms were quite rare, but after 1850, after the industrial revolution happened, the population of the dark ones actually increased because of soot and the death of the lichens due to the pollution from the industries. So that is it, and actually we have already entered 6.3 and it has not ended yet, but I would like to keep it out here.